trillions will flow into cryptos like Stellar XLM, and Zioncoins will benefit. We are at the dawn of a new payment system with the ISO 200 and 2022. But how am I deriving at this conclusion that trillions will flow through blockchains like Stellar XLM? Well, let me get to that point. But first, please like, subscribe, and share, because it helps us with the YouTube algorithm so I can continue to keep delivering content like this to you. Now, let me get to the point. We have a few questions to answer. So let me just say this. Based on the fundamental factors that we're seeing with these blockchain companies like Stellar, like Ripple, it's clear trillions will flow. But what are the hurdles currently in the way? These are the factors, these are the fundamental things that we need to look at to determine our certainty with our blockchains. And to do that, we need to do a little research. We should be looking at other YouTubers, like one of my favorites, the digital asset investor. He likes to report heavily on the SEC versus Ripple, and they may have a huge impact on how cryptos are governed in the US. And it may not just be Ripple that gets the clampers on their digital asset XRP. No, XLM may also be in the firing sight. So where am I getting this idea from? Where am I coming to this? Well, first, let's look at what the digital asset investor has picked up on in terms of Ripple. So without further ado, DAI, take it away, please.
He's perfectly illustrating how Gary Gensler, every time Gary Gensler gets in front of a camera, oh, I'm here to protect investors, and Stuart Alderoty lays out exactly how he's hurting investors, actively hurting investors.
But ultimately, you're hurting.
This is their volume, not mine.
Retail holder of this asset. 1 in 5 Americans have either hold, own, or have interacted with crypto. And that uncertainty ultimately hurts them. So when you hear the chair of the SEC saying, I'm doing this all in the name of consumer protection, actually, it's the very opposite. It's the consumer that's getting hurt. The day the SEC sued Ripple, the digital asset that we rely upon to effectuate the cross-border transactions, XRP, was delisted or suspended from trading from nearly every U.S. platform in the U.S., and $15 billion in market cap volume was erased. Did Ripple get hurt? Our business moved offshore. Who got hurt? The men and women who owned XRP in the U.S., who've been locked out of their accounts and can't access XRP in the U.S. If I could just give one more example. In Gary Gensler's editorial, he talked about a settlement with BlockFi, a lending platform, and what a great success that was. What happened? They settled with BlockFi, and they said, if you want to be a lending platform, you have to come in and register with the SEC. For those who are paying attention, we kind of all knew there was no path to registration with the SEC because the regulatory framework wasn't there. And the SEC assessed a $100 million fine. Shortly thereafter, BlockFi was not able to make the first $10 million down payment on the $100 million fine. They went on the auction block. They were sold. 2 other companies with similar business models quickly went bankrupt. And the consumers who had funds on those platforms were left holding the bag in bankruptcy court. That does, at the end, so that was the response in the Wall Street Journal to what Gary Gensler, basically calling him out, saying, stop invoking consumer protection. Stop invoking integrity of the markets. You're hurting the consumer. Regulatory uncertainty creates havoc in the marketplace. What we need is clarity.
Exact mundo. And then Cowboy Crypto had posted this clip, and this is also a great clip. I think the sound might be better on this one.
About the fact that you recently wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal questioning the SEC's approach to the crypto market for not providing sufficient clarity over crypto regulation. Can you elaborate on that a bit and explain why you believe the current crypto regulatory approach actually does more harm than good?
Yeah. So that since December of 2020, and that's an important date because the SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple in December 2020, we have not signed a single U.S. customer to our platform. But in the past 2 years, we've had the strongest years ever as a company. That $10 billion in volume mostly is driven offshore. And by the way, this is all done compliant with anti-money laundering laws, OFAC laws, anti-sanction laws, et cetera. Why is that? Why haven't we signed a single U.S. customer in the past 2 years? Because of regulatory uncertainty and really regulatory hostility. So the piece that I wrote in the Wall Street Journal was in response to an op-ed that our current chair of the SEC wrote, Gary Gensler, where he announced that the SEC was going to be the cop on the beat for crypto. Well, I don't remember anyone holding an election for the cop on the beat for crypto. I don't remember Congress appointing Gary Gensler as the cop on the beat for crypto. So I wrote an editorial basically saying you can't self-appoint yourself as the cop on the beat for crypto. And what really is happening here in the US, because we have such regulatory uncertainty and outright regulatory hostility through what we call regulation by enforcement, compared to sophisticated economic centers like Singapore, like London, like Dubai. What we're doing here in the US, and I think principally through the SEC as an institution, is we're elevating politics and power over sound policy. And in doing that, you're not only hurting innovation and innovators and entrepreneurs like Ripple, and I won't name others, but there's others under attack and in the space in the U.S.
All right, very interesting, very smart man.
Okay, thanks for that, Digital Asset Investor. Without you retweeting that video, I probably would have missed that. But in any case, what we can see here clearly is that some high-level execs from Ripple are homing in to what the SEC are actually doing. When you look at the facts, that is what the SEC are actually doing. The question is, what are they doing to Stellar XLM? On top of that, well, we need to look through an article from Grayscale. So over to the article. Nathan?
Hey Nathan, so Grayscale disclosing SEC query says crypto XLM Zcash may be securities. Now this was from back in August the 27th.
Let's jump to this.
Though relatively minor trusts and uncertainty surrounding this trio's legal status, namely whether they are securities, underscores the stakes of Grayscale's regulatory gamble. Its trust business presumes these cryptos are not securities. If it deems otherwise, it says in filings, it may have to pull the plug on the trusts. For the first time in August, Grayscale acknowledged that Zcash and XLM may currently be a security based on the facts as exists today, a major shift from its May-June stance that the trio might be deemed so down the road. Other changes between Grayscale's June and August filings further suggest a rapidly evolving situation for Zcash and XLM's treatment by the SEC. In the June 28 filings, where Grayscale first reveals the regulatory back and forth, the asset manager says SEC staff has not provided any guidance as to the security status of Zcash and XLM. Another addition in August the 16th filing, Grayscale has received a memorandum regarding the status of Zcash XLM under federal securities law from its external securities lawyers. Disclosures do not detail what that memo says. Zcash inclusion among assets potentially viewed as securities by the SEC surprised crypto lawyers Gabriel Shapiro, who found the agency's apparent interpretation ominously expansive. Back over to you, Nathan.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that, Nathan. Yes, and so you could see XLM is under the fire, right, from the SEC. pretty much like what's happened to Ripple. Now, from what I believe and what I understand, the SEC had known about Ripple's operation for several years, and that probably be the same with XLM. And they waited until people bought into this digital asset, many years, and then they decide to slap this major lawsuit on them. So I think that's probably a little unfair to say, but that's by any extremity hugely unfair for investors. As you saw in that previous video brought about to me by the digital asset investor. I digress. I think that the SEC will take the stance that XLM is a security. They will. However, if Ripple is successful in its case, its current ongoing case with the SEC, then a precedent will be set. I don't think we'll have to rely on the Howey test anymore. We can rely on the Ripple test as to whether a digital asset is a security or not. And the SEC might be less gung-ho with other assets. So absolutely, we do need to all draw together and really think about, what the SEC are actually doing, because they can absolutely squash innovation by doing this hugely within the US. In other countries, still operate, as you could see previous, from that video, as to what Ripple's doing. But let me just say this. I think we need to really have a look and see what the White House are saying on this matter. And it might be a little concerning. And we really need to read a publication and take it from there. So, in any case, I'm Nathan, aka Nathan of Zion. Smash the Zion coin up there, like and subscribe, and check out the next video. It's going to be on what the White House is saying about the SEC on crypto. See you in the next one. Have a great day now.